Imperative to a safe home that owners can qualify for to have done for free of charge. I spoke with organizers of an inaugural roof giveaway program.
A home endures a lot: rain, hail, snow, and heat. Even the sturdiest homes have underlying issues that aren't noticeable to the average person, which could lead to unwelcome surprises later. Leadership at Ironclad Construction want to help limit those surprises or simply help someone in need of a new roof through their new Roof Over Your Head giveaway.
We've met a lot of people over the years that need a new roof and just don't financially have the ability to put a roof on their house, and so they're dealing with issues from that, and we want to give back and do something good for somebody.
Organizers are accepting nominations on their website now. After those are submitted, they will verify the entries before the selection and installation process goes forward. With severe weather leaving lasting imprints on communities more frequently over the years, Kirsten says paying it forward can help a family weather the financial and emotional storm.
I think after seeing all the storm damage from the derecho 2 years ago really changed our perspective on that, and we worked with a lot of clients who had storm damage, and not all of those people were able to either pay for their deductible or had the policies in place to replace their roofs, and so there was people that in that storm were unable to get some of their stuff repaired, and it kind of opened our eyes to really the need out there for this type of promotion.
Even if your roof seems healthy, Kirsten says to look for any fraying on the edge of the roof shingles or circular discoloration patterns. Any of those signs would warrant a specialist taking a closer look.
The nomination deadline is August 15th. You can find additional details over on dakotanewsnow.com. In a very exciting day.